mountains and 8 seas make one world. 1,000 worlds make one chiliocosm. One chiliocosm to the power of 3, and there's nothing I can't cut.
Okay, now this may come to a few of y'all surprise, but I figured why not just get this video out the way and just go ahead and let y'all know. Now, in terms of everything that had happened or occurred over the course of chapter 10, this by far, I wouldn't say it's not interesting. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'm probably still going to give it a 10, no lower than a 9.5. But out of everything that happened in chapter 10, this will be the most least interesting from my personal opinion. I know people are constantly talking about, yo, is Momoshiki coming back? What's the deal with Boruto's? But this was the most least interesting angle in the chapter, even including the fact that Kawaki was like, yo, why didn't you tell me Himawari was in danger earlier? I was more intrigued, or I should say I am anticipating more in the upcoming chapters in that storyline or that angle, and the possibilities of Kawaki pulling up to the battlefield and seeing Himawari beat up by Jura, pulling up to the battlefield, joining Himawari in the battle against Jura. A whole lot of different aspects you could look in that regard. But sticking to the topic at hand, this was the least interesting story arc, interesting angle coming out of chapter 10 for me. Not saying it's the one that I did not like, but least interesting in terms of I was more so looking forward to the future of Hidari versus Sarada, the future of Kurama and Himawari, the future of Jura. Where the fuck is Matsuri and Bug? You know what I'm saying? I already know it's been overarching since Naruto Next Generations. Momoshiki is a threat to Boruto, so it wasn't necessarily something that's on the top of my mind, but I understand, especially with the way the events of Naruto Next Generations ended, leading up into Tubu Vortex, a very, very peculiar and curious words coming out of Boruto's mouth, Paul, in Naruto's Next Generations, i.e., I don't know how to explain it, but I feel I can control his power much better now. You feel me? So Boruto is under the fraud allegations watch, and now I'm just giving y'all the real. So just y'all who know, oh, he's so biased. He's, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm telling y'all straight up how it is. Right now, Boruto's fighting the fraud allegations. I saw with my own 2 eyes. He said himself, he feels like he can control Momoshiki's power better. And we see this man staggering and sweating in the corner. You feel me? Like he's getting investigated for the P. Diddy allegations. But long story short, this has been an overarching theme. This has been an overarching problem. So that dynamic of the story wasn't really the most interesting part. To say all of that and say, regardless of that fact, this is still, I would say, probably the best way to take Boruto out of the story. And it works. And it only works because of his character throughout the Naruto Next Generations development. Now, ultimately, the whole entire basis of this video is that Momoshiki will still continue to be a threat. But in terms of Momoshiki's presence, I would say, if not by the end of this volume 3 that we're currently in, because I believe it's 4 chapters of volume, and this new volume started with chapter 9. If not by chapter 12, then by the start of volume 13, or somewhere in the middle of the next, I said volume 13, but the start of chapter 13 or somewhere in the middle of volume. So between 13, 14, 15, and 16, we will see Momoshiki's presence. Now, they can't introduce the problem like this and not follow through on it, i.e. like we understand a famous literature term, Chekhov's gun. You can't introduce something like that. The dynamic or the idea of Boruto seemingly being this unstoppable force and immovable object in one, but then presenting this obstacle and this struggle, both internally and externally for his character. You have to capitalize and you have to execute that. But he's been sidelined. And it works, right? Because and the justification for this, right, is because, one, we understand all of the notorious things that Momoshiki has done throughout his time. And just being honest with y'all, Boruto is a top executive in the Mangekyo Uchiha gang. So, like, I'm gonna let y'all niggas know straight up. The thing about it, we in our community, we give it to each other straight up. Pause. You feel me? We don't allow any infighting. But if we need to address a problem and we need to rectify a situation, we will rectify that situation behind closed doors. Meaning the public eye don't need to be like all up in our business. Long story short, Boruto is a top executive in the Mangekyo Uchiha gang, right? A lot of his stats, a lot of his banners, a lot of the achievements and accolades that get hung up in the Raptors that have been done by his hands put the title of Momoshiki over his head because honestly, let's keep it a buck. Boro died at Momoshiki's hand, Boruto's body. Sasuke lost his Rinnegan at Momoshiki's hand, Boruto's body. You feel me? What's the name? Naruto almost died. Ko's plan almost went up to the air at Momoshiki's hand, Boruto's body. You feel me? Kawaki was pushed on the brink of forcing Naruto to go to despair because of why? Momoshiki forcing, Boruto's body. So a lot of the things were Momoshiki taking over and like, yeah, this nigga Borushiki is on the map. And then we had Boruto fighting the allegations all throughout Naruto Next Generations. He's not even the main character. Like, this damn near might as well be Kawaki's show. We even had people prior to the Kawaki introduction for unknowingly some reason and admittedly so prior to Himawari being initiated into the Mangekyo Uchiha gang as the star pupil. Prior to these moments, I'm confused. People wanted Himawari to be the main character over Boruto. Understandably so. Naruto Gaiden era. People were like, Sarada should have been the main character of Boruto. Kawaki arc is introduced. 4 chapters go by. Mind you, anime excluded. 3 chapters go by. 2 chapters go by. A total accumulated of 8 to 10 pages. Out of those 44 to 43 pages chapters, Boruto was in like 8 to 20 pages out of 4 40-page chapters. Like, he's been getting sidelined. He's been getting pushed to the side. The story has been moving around him and working not necessarily through him as it is with Kawaki, but necessarily working around Boruto. And he's always been that character. So now, what do you do when you take a character that's knowingly so gonna fight allegations, fight criticism from the crowd, from the peers? You take a character that the story works around. And a similar character in this situation would be someone like Ichigo Kurosaki. Now, just to take a small break, because I'm an aspiring writer, I'm an aspiring anime creator. Stay tuned for the future endeavors that Black Uchiha will present to y'all. But you may ask, what do you mean by a character that the story works around versus a character that the story works through? Well, characters that the story works through. Now, these will be notorious, infamous, famous characters such as like Goku, such as like Naruto, Eren Yeager, Asta, like a whole lot of these characters who don't necessarily may have to, I want to be the best or I want to save everyone like Deku, but necessarily have a goal in mind. It's been set either in the beginning stages or at the start of the story, and we're following them going through the different steps in order to achieve said goal. Now, if you're a character that the story works around, at the start of your story, no declaration is made. Probably throughout the beginning stages of your stories, we see certain peaks and interests, but ultimately everything is revolving around you and revolving around the choices you make, and they go from there. Now, characters like Ichigo and Boruto, they don't have ultimate grand desires. I want to be the best Soul Reaper. I want to be the number 1 shinobi in all the shinobi. No, they get inspired by certain things that probably lead them to having certain desires, i.e. in Ichigo's case, protecting his friends, wanting just to protect the, soul society, just understanding he's been put in a position where he has no choice, but also he's the only one to do it. If he has the power and he chooses not to, does that make him morally right or morally wrong? Boruto, similar in his case, he never aspired to do anything. It was just, my dad's this great Hokage everybody talks about. Supposedly he ended the last war. I gotta be a shinobi. Everybody is talking about him like this. I just have to be a shinobi. It wasn't until he saw Sasuke with his own eyes, the very urge of actually wanting to be a shinobi was relit inside of Boruto. So, and I say relit because we understand as a young child, Boruto idolized Naruto. Let's not get, and I feel like a lot of people miss that about Boruto's character. This nigga put Naruto on a pedestal like, yeah, I want to do everything that nigga is able to do and then some. So that envy came out of the idolization because eventually it grew from, all right, you're not acknowledging me to I'm gonna force your dumb ass to acknowledge me. You know what I'm saying? But Boruto's character was always written in a way where the story works around him. So if need be, the story can take him out and continue to move forward. And in Naruto Next Generations, his character fought allegations for that main reason where it will be like, okay, all these things are going down. Have y'all noticed Boruto hasn't been in the story? Or would y'all mind if Kawaki actually became the main character instead of Boruto? Because at this point, it's like the story can't move without Kawaki. But that's the thing about Kawaki's character, right? He's a character that has to get things driven through him in order for the story to go forward. We actively see what he wants to do, and his choices actively change the course of the story. Whereas with Boruto, things happen around him according to the way he moves as a character. So it's kind of different, but in the same in regards. But with Boruto's case, it's less direct and less aggressive. So in other words, as far as you can get in a fantastical and make-believe world, very much more realistic. So going down into Two Blue Vortex, we see where Boruto is now thrown into the spotlight in ways that we've never even seen before, including throughout Naruto Next Generations. He's getting all of these solo fights, something that he couldn't beat the allegations of prior. All of Boruto's solo fights or cool fights were Momoshiki, or the fact that he was in the middle of a team coordinated effort. We come in Two Blue Vortex. He's bodying Code. He's 1v3ing the Senju. Him and Jura never cross paths. That's why. He's bodying Sagemo Mitsuki. He's out here flexing on Kawaki, right? So they're showing us, okay, this character who the story was moving around so far, for the most part, the majority part of his younger life, we're going to start off the second half, right? Showing you how the story can go if we move the story through him. Now, in this case, Boruto is actively letting us know Code did something weird to the Ten Tails, not just changing the Clogons and making them how we know them to be. But okay, there's a worst possible scenario future for everyone. What possibly happened to Sasuke? Why are you wearing his clothes like that, right? What do you know about the Ten Tails? How are you this strong to match the Shinju? You know, and then in Shikamaru's perspective, in Villager's perspective, how do you know all of these things about the ongoing enemy? And how are you able to stop Code in his tracks and drive him out the village? Now the story is moving through Boruto, and they take an extremely dramatic shift by randomly, in the midst of his run too, literally just 3 panels ago, he punched the shit out of Kawaki, right? All of a sudden he's franticing, and all of a sudden he's taken out of the story, and it still works. And I feel like people are missing that fact, because now we're all drooling over the idea that, okay, Momoshiki might pop up any minute now. Where's Momoshiki? Boruto finally has a kryptonite. Hey, he can't do this, he can't do that. And we're just overlooking the amazing writing that this character was actually given, because now it's going back to his roots. Whereas in part 1, there's been times Boruto was sidelined and people were fiending for more for Boruto. Now, currently, Boruto got drastically sidelined, and it's like nobody cares, or nobody's like, bro, no, we need Boruto back. But I can even see the allegations starting to creep into the window. Okay, is Boruto becoming too much of a creative player? Okay, what's going to stop Boruto? At this point, all you need is Boruto and you can solve the problem. He really took a complete 180 character change, right? And I say all of that to say, how does this ensure that Momoshiki might possibly come back? Because it's bringing it's bringing his characterization into full throttle, into full motion. Now, we understand Boruto, since a youngin', it hasn't been, it's not anything foreign. It's just that he is not able to mature and come into his own and actually give y'all results from the fruits of his labor. But since a youngin', he's been praised and you know what I'm saying, put on a pedestal for how talented and how skilled he is. He's been compared to Minato before. As he grows older, it's only a no-brainer that this guy is going to start doing things that possible other prodigious shinobi never even imagined that they could probably do, right? So Boruto was always bound to be this type of greatness. He was always bound to show these type of potential, regardless of being on Otsutsuki body or not. So you have this character with all of these namely crazy advantages. How do you humble them and still make it feel realistic? Well, you bring the problem and you implement the problem that he's been struggling with since he was a kid, right? So, and it adds the humaneness to his, going all the way back to the beginning of the video. Boruto said it himself, I feel like, and that's where we have to understand, a character's word isn't bond. Like, word ain't bond. You feel me? All the time. And personally, Boruto said, I feel like. He doesn't say, I can control Momoshiki's power. Admittedly so, that doesn't mean Black Uchiha, I was the only one that said, oh, Boruto, or he said he feels, no. But I'm taking into account, I'm going back with the history, with the information that we've already getting and adding it to the new information that we've gotten over time, right? So it's like he says, I feel like I could control his power better. That's not a definite answer, especially in the Naruto verse. You can't feel like you could, either you can do it or you can't. And we understand the results of what actually happened. He can't control Momoshiki's power better. And it's humbled him in a way to where he's become this unstoppable force, an immovable object. So what is going to put, a pause on his tracks in order for to prevent him from keeping on being the driving force of the story is this nigga Momoshiki. Why? Because he interrupted Kawaki's space as the driving force. So now while Kawaki get his whole entire character arc back into motion and starts driving the story while Boruto takes a side seat, eventually they're gonna come together, coexist, and continue moving the story forward. But until we see Momoshiki's presence making some type of temporary or permanent damage in this new Boruto that we see, we will yet to reach to that point. So that's why I believe that Momoshiki's time is coming soon, just with the development of Boruto's character, how they're deciding to handle him and move forward with his character, despite him being this strong, major-ass powerhouse. It's your boy, Black Uchiha. Let me know how y'all feel about the Boruto as a character and the possible return of this guy, Momoshiki. Holla at your boy. I'm holla at y'all, Black Uchiha. Yes, sir. Ski!
Hey, can we take a trip to the sky? Show them that our limit's too high.
Cocoa butter hips on the west side. She said